In this video, we will be exploring this question. Did Mackenzie's parents know she crashed the car on purpose? I did read the comments and saw that people really do not like the AI voice. My apologies. I used it because my voice is terrible and way worse than the AI. I do get congested a lot, which can be difficult to listen to. I don't think this will be much better than the AI voice, but I'll give it a try. Hopefully, it's not too difficult to listen to. I can always try to find better AI voices if that's more preferable. In this video, I'll specifically be addressing the allegation that Steve Shirilla did say that Mackenzie did it on purpose. The documents I will be referencing are all from the investigation file. What this boils down to is that two of the Strongsville police officers were visiting Metro Health Hospital one day while Mackenzie was still there being treated. The Strongsville officers state that a Metro officer came up to them and asked them if their body cams were recording. Once they said no, the Metro officer asked if they were going to charge Mackenzie. It's then alleged the Metro officer recalls an incident responding to her room. Mackenzie was threatening to leave against medical advice and to end her life if she was not allowed to leave for Dom's funeral. In recounting the events, the Metro officer allegedly stated that Steve Shirilla begged them to make her stay, that she needed a psych evaluation because, quote, she just tried to end her life and ended the lives of those two boys, end quote. I did have to change up the wording a little because YouTube is weird about specific words. The first document I'll be reading from is from Detective Jesus' investigation. Apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. And it's basically a summary of the events that happened. When you see Metro Health, that is the hospital that Mackenzie was being treated at. So MHPD would be the Metro Health Police Department. Sergeant Doyle is an officer of the Metro Health Police Department. Officer Galassi and his trainee, Officer Zelensky, reported to an incident that occurred while they were handling a follow-up to an unrelated call at Metro's ER. According to both officers, Metro Health Police Sergeant Adam Doyle asked them about the status of this investigation. Sergeant Doyle further added that during Mackenzie's stay at Metro, her father told Sergeant Doyle that Mackenzie intentionally drove her vehicle into the building in an attempt to take her own life. Sergeant Doyle's statement was not documented in the only Metro Health Police Department report I was able to obtain involving Mackenzie. I called Metro Health Police Department and asked the dispatcher to put me in contact with the sergeant who was dealing with officers Galassi and Zelensky in the ER around 500 hours. The dispatcher stated that the sergeant was currently off duty, but identified him as Adam Doyle, badge number 3. The dispatcher then transferred me to a different supervisor who identified himself as Sergeant Starr. I explained to Sergeant Starr that I needed to speak with Sergeant Doyle. He stated Sergeant Doyle works the night shift and will be back on duty October 11, 2022 at approximately 1830 hours. He also provided me Sergeant Doyle's email address. I emailed Metro Health Police Sergeant Doyle requesting detailed documentation outlining his encounter with Steve Shirilla. After receiving a missed call from Sergeant Doyle, I called him back. He confirmed the encounter with Steve Shirilla took place on August 6, 2022 at approximately 1849 hours when Metro officers were dispatched to Mackenzie's room because she was being combative. Sergeant Doyle said Steve Shirilla wanted his daughter to be psychologically evaluated. He explained that no report of the incident was generated because the officers did not use force and the incident did not qualify as a major disturbance, warranting further documentation. I asked Sergeant Doyle to reply to the email I sent him and to provide a detailed statement of the encounter. Sergeant Doyle seemed reluctant to get involved, and the information he provided was not clear and concise. I also asked him to pass my contact information along to the other officer listed on the CAD call for service report, badge number 77. He said he will. I asked Officers Galassi and Zelensky to provide me with signed statements about their encounter with Metro Health Police Department Sergeant Doyle and the contents of the conversation. Given the differing accounts of the contents of the conversation between the three officers, I opted to have all of their statements in writing. Sergeant Steving also gave me a supplement signed by Officer Galassi detailing his encounter with Metro Health Sergeant Doyle. According to Officer Galassi's statement, Sergeant Doyle first inquired whether the Strongsville officers were wearing body cameras and whether the cameras were recording. When told they were not, Sergeant Doyle proceeded to recount the incident with Steve Shirilla on the day Mackenzie was trying to leave the hospital, presumably to attend Dominic's funeral. Officer Galassi wrote that Sergeant Doyle stated Mr. Shirilla stated to him that they had to keep her, Mackenzie, in the hospital because she had already tried to end her life and she ended the lives of those 2 boys. Again, I had to change up the wording because of YouTube. Sergeant Adam Doyle from Metro PD emailed me the following statement, which I digitally uploaded to the network folder. On August 13, 2022, approximately 1849 hours, officers were dispatched to the 7A for a disturbance of a coming from Mackenzie Shirilla room. When officers arrived, Mackenzie was upset with her dad and wanted him out of the room. At the time, the officers spoke to Mr. Shirilla out in the hallway, and he was visibly upset and crying about his daughter and proceeded to tell us she was in a crash that 2 of her friends died in. He didn't state how the crash occurred, or did I ask. I was just trying to get him to calm down. At one point in our conversation, he stated he thinks his daughter needs a psych evaluation because she wasn't making sound decisions because she wanted to leave the hospital and go to her friend's funeral. I had him sitting in the waiting area to calm down. This was the end of my interaction with Mr. Shirilla. I know that was a little choppy. I'm just reading it as it was written, and it's a little bit of a run-on sentence. So going to the next part where it says October 13th, 2022, Officer Zelensky completed a signed supplemental statement about his interaction with Sergeant Doyle. According to his statement, prior to conversing with Officer Galassi and Zelensky, Sergeant Doyle inquired whether their body cameras were running. When told they were not, Sergeant Doyle proceeded to tell them about an incident with Steve Shirilla on the day Mackenzie attempted to leave the hospital. According to Officer Zelensky's statement, Sergeant Doyle said, "Dad, Steve Shirilla was telling Metro Police they had to keep their daughter at the hospital and should not allow her to leave because she just tried to end herself and ended her boyfriend and a friend." Given the discrepancy in the statement that Sergeant Doyle provided compared to the statements by Officer Galassi and Zelensky, I emailed Sergeant Doyle requesting a formal interview. I also urged him to advise his chain of command of his involvement in this investigation. This was the overall description that Detective Jesus put after receiving all the statements from all the parties involved, so now I'm going to break them down separately. Once Detective Jesus was notified by the Strongsville police officers that this conversation occurred, he reached out to the Metro Health Police Department. This is the email he sent to Sergeant Doyle. This would be his original mode of communication to him before the phone call takes place. Sergeant Doyle, early this morning I was informed by Strongsville PD officers Galassi and Zelensky of a conversation you had with them about an incident involving Mackenzie Shirilla's father while she was receiving treatment at Metro. Based on the information provided by my officers, I'm interested in obtaining documentation of your encounter with Mr. Shirilla, detailing the circumstances of said encounter and what was conveyed to you. Please be as specific as possible. Your statement is material to the case at this point because my investigation is pointing to the crash being an intentional act by Mackenzie rather than an accidental one. I'm meeting with Cuyahoga County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Tim Troop on Thursday, 10/13. I will need your statement before then, please. Should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Keep this in mind when you hear Sergeant Doyle's response. This would be Detective Jesus' initial questioning to Sergeant Doyle. He's just saying that the Strongsville officers told him a conversation took place about the disturbance in Mackenzie's room that they responded to. He doesn't detail what the encounter is about or anything like that. He just wants to know what was said with Mackenzie's father and to detail that. This is the email response from Sergeant Doyle. This takes place after the phone call, so I'll play the audio of the phone call first, then we'll come back and go over the email.
Hello.
Hi, is this Sergeant Doyle?
Yes. How are you?
Good. This is Detective Jesus, Strongsville Police. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, as I said, I talked to a couple of your officers today. We just happened to be. I'm sorry, I'm congested from a cold.
So, no worries, Sergeant.
Yeah, I don't mind writing something, but I don't know how good it would be since there was only a very, very brief interaction with him. So.
Well, this is was this pertaining to to that call you guys were sent to August 6th, where she was combative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the same one. Because I was gonna say, I know someone reached out to you guys about that.
Right. And is there? I'm not trying to question your guys' procedures, but is there a reason why no report was generated?
Well, we don't really unless it's a hands-on or something like that, or like a big disturbance. We don't generate reports for that kind of stuff. It's just
Gotcha. Okay. Well, at this point, this is a homicide investigation, and so
okay.
what Shirilla's dad said to you is material. I consulted with the prosecutor, and it's extremely important because we are trying to show that she intentionally drove the car into the wall. And if her dad made those statements, that's critical.
Yeah. Well, like I'll be honest with you. I remember him saying like she needs a psych eval, but like I don't remember like how he said it, why he said it. Like I remember the word psych eval in there.
Okay. So what you told the officers this morning was that he kind of alluded to or stated that she wanted to take her life and drove the car into the building.
No, like that's not like how I like worded it this morning. He just said like he's like my daughter like was in a serious accident or something along those lines, and he was mad that like the staff wasn't like helping him out. So like he's like they need to do a psych eval because like she wanted to leave. That's why like we were up there because like she was screaming and yelling.
Okay. And do you guys not wear body cameras?
No, we do not.
Okay. Well, Sarge, listen, I know this is a pain in the ass for you, but I'm going to need a statement from you. You can reply to the email that I sent, and you got to be detailed because the prosecutor is going to look at it. Like I said, this is a homicide investigation.
No, I totally understand.
So, I know the CAD number, your guys' CAD number is 31787.
Yeah.
But, whatever the dad told you, describe how his demeanor was, and, if the prosecutor looks at it and has more questions, I'll have the prosecutor call you directly.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I was going to say, that was like back in what, August
6th, yeah, August 6th.
Yeah, I was going to say, like our policy is, like, unless it's a real big disturbance or, like, as long as it's, like, not a hands-on or anything, it's just a CAD call, like, for PCC.
Yeah, I mean, that's your procedure. If the prosecutor has an issue with it, then, he'll ask you about it, and you just testify to your procedure. But like I said, the details of that encounter are very critical, especially at this point in the investigation, because everything is lining up to show this was not just an accident, was not a random act. So
I barely talked to her at all, like, because we stepped out and talked to the dad, and then I'll have to look to see who came up there with me.
The badge numbers are 3 and 77. Which one are you?
3.
You're 3? Okay.
Yeah.
So number 77 was with you. He was actually, looks like you guys both got there at the same time. Okay. You were there for about 20 minutes, according to your CAD call. But no big deal, Sarge. Like I said, write as much as you can, be as detailed and descriptive as you can. Describe the dad, his demeanor, the circumstances. I mean, like I said, this is going into a homicide investigation. So then I'll just give it to the prosecutor, and we'll see. We'll take it from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to 77 Officer Tucciarone tonight too.
Okay. Yeah, and if he had heard anything else, just have him separately send me an email too, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, George. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay, I do have a lot to say about that, but first I'm going to go over the email response. This was written after the phone call. On August 13, 2022, at approximately 1849 hours, officers were dispatched to the 7A for a disturbance of a coming from Mackenzie Shirilla room. When officers arrived, Mackenzie was upset with her dad and wanted him out of the room. At the time, officers spoke to Mr. Shirilla out in the hallway, and he was visibly upset and crying about his daughter, and proceeded to tell us she was in a car crash that 2 of her friends passed away in. He didn't state how the crash occurred, or did I ask. I was just trying to get him to calm down. At one point in our conversation, He stated he thinks his daughter needed a psych evaluation because she wasn't making sound decisions because she wanted to leave the hospital and go to her friend's funeral. I had him sit in the waiting area to calm down. That was the end of my interaction with Mr. Shirilla. Sorry again for the choppiness of that. I'm just reading it how it's written, and there was a lot of commas and not really any periods in there. So this is the statement that occurred after he spoke to him on the phone. There's a few things that show as red flags to me. It seemed like he kept talking around it, and he would say, oh, I didn't talk to her much, but that's not what was in question at all, and he seems to change the subject. So with these statements from him, he just seemed like he really didn't want to get involved. I don't know if there's any kind of, HIPAA guidelines that they have to follow as Metro Health officers or anything like that, or if they can get in trouble for talking about a patient, or if, he felt sorry for the family and just wanted to walk his statement back. But I'll go over the two Strongsville officers' statements next, and we can see where they really don't line up. First up is Officer Galassi's statement. On October 11, 2022, around 4:30 hours, Officer Zelensky and myself, Officer Galassi, arrived at Metro Health Medical Center to speak with our driver from an injury MVA involving a motorcycle into a pole. While waiting in the emergency room for our driver to get out of radiology, we were met by Metro Health Police Sergeant Doyle, badge number 3. Sergeant Doyle introduced himself to us and asked if we needed anything. We stated that we were fine and we were just waiting for our driver to get out of radiology. While speaking with him, he asked if we were wearing body cameras, to which we stated we were. He asked if they were currently recording, and we stated they were not currently recording. At this time, Sergeant Doyle brought up the name of Mackenzie Shirilla and asked what is going on with her case. I stated that this is an ongoing investigation, and I believe they are still waiting for toxicology reports. At this time, Sergeant Doyle stated in detail about the night Mackenzie attempted to leave the hospital. Sergeant Doyle stated to us that Mackenzie Shirilla came into Metro as a juvenile, but while she was being treated in the hospital over the course of several days, she had a birthday and turned 18, thus making her an adult. One night before the night of Dominic Russo's funeral, she tried to escape and leave the hospital. He stated that the police were called to her room to intervene. While he was in the room, he stated he spoke to Mackenzie Shirilla's father, who had called them. Sergeant Doyle stated that her father, Steve Shirilla, stated to him that they cannot allow their daughter to leave the hospital. Sergeant Doyle stated to him that she is an adult and they can't physically keep her there at the hospital if she wanted to leave because she is now an adult. Sergeant Doyle stated to us that Mr. Shirilla stated to him that they had to keep her in the hospital because she already tried to end herself and she just ended those 2 boys, and they can't allow her to leave the hospital because she is trying to end her life. Sorry, YouTube doesn't like that word, but you can see what's written there. Our conversation ended shortly after this, and he advised us if he needs anything to let him know. Shortly after our conversation ended, we finally located our male driver and then activated our body cameras to speak with him to serve him this citation. Nothing further to report at this time. Next up is Officer Zelensky's statement. On October 11, 2022, at approximately 4:15, Officers Galassi and I, Officer Zelensky, went to Metro Hospital ER to serve a citation to an individual who was involved in a single MVA motorcycle crash on the night of October 10, 2022. While we were waiting in the ER for the individual from the motorcycle crash to come out of radiology, Metro Police Sergeant Doyle came over to speak with Galassi and I. We were having small talk with Sergeant Doyle when he asked if we had body cameras. We confirmed that we did, but that they were currently off at the moment because we were sitting in the hallway ER waiting for our individual. Next thing, Sergeant Doyle asked if we charged Mackenzie Shirilla. Galassi said no, not yet. Officer Galassi followed up. We're waiting on the tox screen results to come back. Sergeant Doyle started to tell us how Mackenzie's parents gave them, Metro Police, a hard time. He said Mackenzie came in as a juvenile but turned 18 while at Metro Hospital. He also stated that right around the funeral of the 2 boys, Mackenzie and her parents became even more argumentative with each other and Metro staff. Sergeant Doyle went on to say that the dad was telling Metro Police they had to keep their daughter at the hospital and should not allow her to leave because she tried to end herself and just ended her boyfriend and friend. Sergeant Doyle told us that he was telling the parents they had no way to keep her, Mackenzie Shirilla, there, If a friend wanted to pick Mackenzie up, Metro Police could not do anything about it because she was 18 and the parents did not understand that. He also stated that Mackenzie's mother would yell at them when they came into the room to check on her, but Mackenzie's mother was the one to ask them for help. What I find interesting is that both of the Strongsville officers' statements are similar but not identical. The wording is different and each one brings up additional details. Officer Galassi kind of just sticks with the details pertaining to the specific statement in question, while Officer Zelensky, who is in training, adds in additional details of the conversation that may not be particularly relevant, but appear to be an attempt to provide his entire recollection of that conversation. I'm not an expert, this is just my opinion, I could be wrong, but to me their statements are more credible, especially when compared to Sergeant Doyle. Like Detective Jesus stated, it seemed like Sergeant Doyle did not want to get involved. My question about that is, why? Is it because he felt bad for a dad that was at his wit's end? Did he make that part up? Or could he be in trouble for essentially gossiping about what happened in the patient's room? I'm not sure. Could be any of them. Sergeant Doyle does seem to concede that most of what is alleged took place, but he doesn't appear to be confident in his statement that Shirilla did not say she did it on purpose. But he does say that the second part of the allegation regarding the psych evaluation is true. So, half true, or is all of it true? He seems to talk around it and not really address it, and to me, that's why his statement just does not come off as credible. This could mean more than one thing. Did he just feel bad for Steve and not want to make things worse for him? Seeing this dad at his wit's end, he did say he felt bad for him. Or did he really not say that at all? And Sergeant Doyle is just making that up. Just making the one part up, though? I don't really know. Did he just tell the officers it happened when it didn't? What would be the point of that? Why did he walk the statement back, or at least part of it? According to Zelensky's statement, Mackenzie's mom was already yelling at them frequently. Could it have something to do with that? He didn't want to deal with that? I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Most of what the Strongsville officers state was told to them is otherwise corroborated, not just by Sergeant Doyle, but also by Dr. Leon Ray White, who says Mackenzie threatened to end her life if she was not allowed to go to Dominic's funeral. He states multiple attempts to redirect and reason with her were unsuccessful, which could lead to Steve desperately begging the officers to force her to stay, which they could not do because she had turned 18. Several things the officers claimed in their statements were corroborated by others. So it's just my opinion, but I don't believe that they made that part up when all the other parts of what they said were corroborated by other sources other than Sergeant Doyle. Tell me what you think. Since the officer statements are conflicting on just that one specific part, I don't believe it's irrefutable proof that Steve knew exactly what his daughter did, but I think it does raise eyebrows and it raises more questions for me. If what the two Strongsville officers allege is true, then that makes the newly released prison calls even more despicable to me. Steve yelled out in court after the verdict, "We know you're innocent," and then proceeds to say that in the calls. Mackenzie and her family continue to blame the victims in this case and blame the families for the predicament that their daughter is in based on her own actions. The released prison calls you can check out at Phone Calls from Prison's YouTube channel. I'll try to link that below. I am working on an impeachment video for Natalie, Mackenzie's mother. There was already evidence that contradicted what she testified to under oath and what she said at sentencing. Initially, I hadn't planned on doing an impeachment video for her. I'd originally given her the benefit of the doubt, but after listening to the prison calls, the lies are adding up. It's obvious she's using the calls to rewrite history and the facts of the case. She'll get across the point she wants. Then if Mackenzie says something that doesn't fit, she tells her to stop because these phone calls are recorded. Like when they're bringing up the call that was made to Mackenzie's house for her trying to end her life, the mom tries to say it was not about that, it was about something else, but there is a report to document this. And Mackenzie says, "Oh yeah, I was being destructive, I was throwing stuff." And her mom says, "No, you weren't," and just tries to completely rewrite everything that has happened. Or when Mackenzie said she wasn't involved in the church break-in and her mom is sitting there saying, "Yeah, you told me you were in the car the whole time. You didn't even go in the church." But there's photos of Mackenzie and Dom in the church. So she just uses the calls as she wants to reposition certain events. She does exactly what Mackenzie does, so it's easy to see where Mackenzie got it from the beginning. From going over 30,000 text messages between Mackenzie and Dom, she constantly rewrote history and rewrote how the events took place and how she was really the victim and everything was his fault. So it, I guess it makes sense that her mom's doing it too. I guess she got it from somewhere. So, like I said, originally I hadn't planned on doing the impeachment video, but I'm thinking I might now. So, let me know what you think. I'm sorry if this was hard to listen to. Again, my voice is really terrible, but I saw the comments, no more AI voice, so I'm trying this out, and we can always go back to the AI voice if this is too much. All right. Take care, everyone. I'm out.